So, Piggy is an asymmetrical survival game made in 2020 by Minitoon, and okay, let's be honest, if you clicked on this video, you already know what Piggy is. However, despite the main story having been complete for over 4 years, I haven't seen any major analysis on what the infected are and how they've changed throughout the game's history. So that's what I'm doing today because I've seen no one else do it, and it is very, very interesting. The infected aren't like your traditional zombies, or at least they weren't when the game first released. They had several different traits like glowing eyes and increased strength, which we'll see later on. But as you can tell, this isn't how it ended up being. So let's look through all the changes the infected have gone through throughout the story and see how they went from creative to basic.
Hey look, it's the title of the video!
We start off in Chapter 1, where, we explore the disappearance of George Pig, get knocked out by Penny Pig, and we have to escape, leading to the gameplay loop of Piggy. Here we see a few key things about the infected. They have glowing eyes, and they're aggressive. At this point, it's not stated that they're infecting people, but we can tell that changes later on by the fact that we call them infected. To this day, we have no in-universe reason why Penny dragged us into the house, but it's for another day. We don't get an explanation why the infected behave like this either, and we can't call them zombies but until Chapter 4, where the genius named Doggy makes a theory that they are old friends, now turned evil in some way. But tragedy strikes, dog barks, and he's gone. He's infected now. And from here, we learn officially that, yes, they are infected and can transform other people into infected. And something's off in this chapter. Doggy doesn't chase us. He'll bark at us, but won't chase us. And it's implying that somehow he's fighting off the urge to kill his best friend. But after leaving our old friend in the forest, we go follow a mysterious radio where we enter school. And school is where we can finally start talking about the lore involving the infected. In the school, there's a bulletin board that translates to, "I feel everything I do. I can't control my actions. I can't help myself. This mind yells for help, but the body does not agree. I wish the world would understand." This bulletin board frames the infection as less of zombies, but more mind control. With the infected, at this point, not rotting, it's clearly to assume that they're just normal people overtaken by some magical virus. And Minitoon said they are not doomed in a post, though it is way later and not around this time. So we can presume that as of Book 2, or as of the events of Piggy, the infected can be saved. The differences between infected and zombies become more apparent in the metro and hospital, where we learn that Mr. P was the one conducting these experiments to cure his old wife, which seems that after all their trials, they just failed, and he only made things worse. This was how it is established, with minor things added here and there later on, like the eye colors and the insolence. And Book 2 seems to only reinforce old theories, like the fact that infected like Dessa and Dakota are perfectly fine, minus the scar at Dakota's face, which most likely was just from the infection process. But it doesn't seem to have rotten, so most likely means that the infected, yet again, can't rot, even from injuries like that. Though there are two outliers like Archie and Penny. With Archie, it was most likely something about the incident that is heavily alluded in that chapter, which we still know nothing about. And then Penny, it's more likely stuff from the lab, as their arm is replaced, which you wouldn't waste supplies like this on an infected if it wasn't for testing something, which, since Penny was one of the first infected that is listed on record, it's likely they're using her as a experiment to test the effects of the infected. From here, let's take a time jump all the way to Decay, where we'll see changes in the infected. This chapter introduces us to the decaying infected, hallucinations in Bunny's mind, which show us that the infected are apparently now rotting all of a sudden, yet it's likely hallucination. But we also see this with the Megan chapter, which, hey, it's just they're reusing assets, completely fine. And none of this is canon until we get to Delirium. Well, Delirium mostly follows the trend with the entire chapter taking place in Bunny's mind. We see one thing at the very end, a scene with Bunny and Sheepy, which not only heavily implies that Bunny is the lesbian that Minitoon was talking about. Yes, that's a whole thing that I will not go into this video. It also shows us Bunny and Sheepy are rotting. While not 100% confirmed, it is heavily implied that this ending is the canon one, and since we see them rotting, it shows that they are not curable. This contradicts what Minitoon said before, as now the infected are rotting and uncurable, which, yeah, it is not looking good for the infected. But let's see if this gets retconned in the next installment, which is Inner City. So now they're all rotting, and the durability that was mentioned before, nope, that's all gone. Now the infected can be killed with sticks if you're determined enough. When before, guns, robots couldn't even permanently stop them, and they could take down military outposts with little to no struggle. Along with that, they seem to be mutating, which means they have to be alive, yet they're rotting. So that's contradictory. And viruses only change DNA of living beings, and yet they're still rotting, meaning the infection has gone from a virus to a mold, which never seen in anything at all. Jeez Louise. I hope Mr. P is happy that he's broken the laws of biology with a virus that mutated into a mold. Anyways, now we have fast infected, tank infected, and poison infected. And while I question how the fast infected even work, because they're spindly, which means they don't have as much muscle to propel them, and that's a whole thing. Tank infected also mean they are growing muscle, and yet they're still rotting. So the muscles can't be strong, and it just throws a wrench in everything. And I won't even mention poison infected, because now they're growing poison? And again, none of this seems curable, going against the old information we learned. Not only does the whole finding the cure thing seem pointless now, but it goes against the previous tweets that were already retconned with Decay and Delirium. And now we have to live with this. Now, why did this change? It's likely two factors: gameplay and tone. First, Inner City needed diverse enemies, and it's likely they're keeping insolence for late game, and bandits are too limiting in the fact that they're just humans, so they chose to mutate the infected. And then in Decay, we needed common enemies to kill, so the infected became zombie hallucination things, and it was easy for them to die. And then, yeah, that was made for balancing. And then for the tone, Decay was released as a darker chapter, and with the hallucinations, that made sense. But Inner City, it's a mix of tones. The marketing was cheery, happy, with a somber song, and which could fit the tone, but they didn't need to go full, easily grindable NPC route. And then Inner City, I don't know what happened. They just went with Decay and made it easily grindable infected that you can just run away from, which leads to many gripes I have with zombie franchises in general. This especially changes how the infected are depicted in the early entries, and for the rest of Piggy's future. Okay, this last part was added really quickly after the Holobreak Q&A, and
With the reveal that people who have been infected for a long time can no longer be cured, does that mean all Book 1 and Book 2 infected are now permanently infected?
I guess so.
Okay, cool.
Unless they, they kicked the bucket, so to speak, then I guess they're technically not infected anymore.
yeah, and he's gone 180 on the infected in Book 2 being too far gone, so... Also, the Nord glaze is becoming a real. And with that, I think I've discussed everything about Piggy's infected. And it's sad to see how it's changed, but I'm holding out hope. But it's probably gonna stay like this for now. Hello, this is my first video in a while. I hope you enjoyed it. I have other videos planned, but I probably won't be able to upload them much. And it's sad to see, but it's just schedule and all that. But I'll be making content in other ways, but nothing's set in stone, so stay tuned for now, and until then, this is JP3 Spino, and now I'll swim away. Farewell, and I hope you enjoyed your stay. Also, what is with the Norglet?
Jerome!